The U.S. military raid on Venezuela over the weekend stunned the world and sparked a global debate about whether President Trump might use force against other countries. Our next guest, Ian Bremmer, is the president of the geopolitical risk consultancy firm, the Eurasia Group. The group's annual top risks report analyzes the top 10 geopolitical risks facing the world in the coming year. Topping this year's list is political revolution here in the U.S., with Bremmer arguing the United States is itself unwinding its own global order. Ian, good morning. We will get to that number one risk in a moment, but I want to talk about number three, which is
the Don Roe Doctrine.
The Don Roe Doctrine. And those are the words the president used himself to describe what's going on right now on Sunday. You wrote this actually before that.
Friday, yeah.
On Friday, yeah. This stuns me that on Friday you'd written this, and then this news broke over the weekend. I can't imagine what you were thinking when you woke up.
Well, we had to change the graphics, obviously, and we wanted to show the work, so we actually put the draft from Friday directly in the report so people could go back and see, look, the world moves fast. But the reality is the United States now is showing that it has military dominance in its backyard and more broadly, very different than the multipolar economic world we increasingly live in. And with Trump more constrained in what he can do with tariffs, which was the big international tool in 2025, because he needs affordability to improve. He needs his numbers to improve. He needs to get more deals done, especially with the Chinese. But militarily, no one's able to hit him back. And he showed that very clearly with an extraordinary successful mission, to bring Maduro back to the United States just over the weekend. And countries across the region, as well as America's top allies in Europe, are deeply concerned about what that change, applying American first policy to the rest of the world, is going to mean for them.
Now, let's talk about the top risk. You write that political revolution in the U.S. means the United States itself will be the principal source of global risk in 2026. How so?
President Trump believes that the political system has been weaponized against him. That's what has led to 2 unprecedented impeachments. It's led to unprecedented felony charges and convictions. It's what led to, sadly precedented, a nearly assassination. And that has meant that he believes that the principal enemy to him in the United States is not Russia, it's not China, it's inside the House.
It's inside
the Democratic political opposition. So he must control the administrative state. He must remove checks and balances on the executive, making himself at least the most revolutionary president since FDR. We compared FDR to Trump in this report. And actually, much of what Trump is doing is more revolutionary with less institutional pushback internally than what we saw during the days of FDR, failed efforts to engage in court packing, failed efforts to purge his own Democratic Party in the New Deal. And so, what does that mean? Well, the United States is the most powerful country in the world. In my lifetime, we've had 3 revolutions that have really mattered on the macro stage. First was Deng Xiaoping in China, economic revolution, successful, led to the biggest economic expansion in the world. Gorbachev, Soviet Union, political and economic revolution, failed, led to the collapse of the Soviet Union. Political revolution under Trump, underway. We know it's happening. We don't yet know how successful he is going to be. But the implications will be permanent, and they will change not just how people think about the United States, but also how they engage with the United States, how reliable the United States is seen by its enemies and by its friends.
And that's troubling to a lot of people when they think about how we are viewed and how we're seen. U.S. versus China, your take on that?
Well, the last few days has been kind of a political spectrum between FAFO and TACO. FAFO, fool around and find out. TACO, Trump always chickens out. When military power and countries that can't hit back, like Venezuela or Denmark, it's all about FAFO, right? TACO, China has shown the ability to hit Trump and the United States hard, with reciprocal tariffs, with control of critical minerals and rare earths and global supply chain. And Trump has had to back down as a consequence. That's why Trump talks about a G2 as opposed to a G7 or a G20. That's why Trump's so excited about going to China and meeting with Xi Jinping later this year. That's why you see the Americans now providing H200 NVIDIA chips with some successful lobbying by, Jensen Huang and NVIDIA.
I sometimes wonder, Ian, if when you write these reports, if you go, I hope I'm wrong, I hope I'm wrong. But that thing on Friday about Venezuela, that you'd written it almost exactly how it happened,
right,
is is mind-boggling.
I would have loved to have been wrong about a lot of things in this report. Let's see how it plays out.
Well, we appreciate you joining us. Make sure you check out the annual Top Risks report.